Hello, most of the time, my name's Tim Rogers, and I want to instill and demand of you that may the rock always be with you.
Oh, magnificent. Tim, welcome to May the Rock be with you, and thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Mate, congratulations on 30 years of Hi-Fi Way. Let's look back. What's your fondest memory of releasing the album?
Of releasing it, I don't have many memories of. I guess we were on tour overseas at the time, and yeah, any time something good happened to the band at home, we'll be playing toilets either in Europe or the States, and so I guess I have some good memories of recording it,
Mm.
mostly to do with looking at Andy and Russ play. I hadn't heard Andy play so wildly on a number of the tracks, particularly Applecross Wing Commander, where there's just that freak out at the end.
Mm.
And all the reference points to bands that we loved were there, from Rush to The Who or The Creation in particular. But then just standing back and watching Andy, who is a far better guitar player than I ever was. But and so when he joined the band, I asked him to be the guitarist, and I said, "Oh, I'll go to bass," mistakenly thinking that it was somehow easier, which it's not at all. And then just over the years, watching Andy just take that ball and run with it and come up with something so wildly uh, constructed with an element of improvisation, but just furious playing. And
Mm.
my strongest memory of recording it. And Russ, of course, being a juggernaut of energy and inventiveness. But with releasing it, yeah, I think we were touring overseas, and so it was maybe relief that it wasn't that people that we trusted liked it,
Mm.
but that it went quite well was a massive surprise. I don't think any of us had the when we were recording it. We just thought, well, that's the last record we'll probably make as a band, and hopefully we'll stay friends and play. And but it really gave us a lifetime of experiences afterwards, which is a complete surprise to all of us.
Yeah, certainly has. But looking back though, is there anything you would have done differently on that album now, listening to it again? Anything you think, oh, I wish I'd done that or done this?
Yeah, all the lyrics.
All of
Uh,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I just approach lyric writing differently these days to how I did then, and because there was no scrutiny at all, you could just kind of get away with a lot. And my main objective was just to stay out of the way of the band and to give something rhythmically and a sense of melody, but it was never our strong suit, singing and lyrics. And then maybe 15 years later, I got more enjoyment out of writing lyrics. Back then, even for Hi-Fi Way, it was kind of perfunctory just to get the song finished. And I didn't listen to many lyric writers.
Mm.
Um, and it was around that time that I got given a bunch of records by friends, whether it was Hank Williams or Townes Van Zandt, John Prine, Emmylou Harris records, Bonnie Raitt records, uh, Joan Baez. Joni hadn't really come into the picture then, but and so from about that time, I started really working on trying to write lyrics that actually meant something rather than just emoting. And I think on Hi-Fi Way, there's just a lot of emoting, and um, I, I'm not particularly proud of the lyrics on it.
Wow.
I'm glad that and that people like it is great,
Mm.
but I just demand more of myself these days.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a great, honest answer. There are songs, though, and that album really do evoke great memories for people. So, when you personally have a song or an album that you takes you back to a certain time, is there one for you that takes you back to a time when you listened to a song or a particular album?
Oh yeah, yeah, so many. Well, when I mentioned Hank Williams before, I was with a friend of the band's, Mandy Barron, who was involved in uh, promotions and tours back then. And she was just someone I really loved and trusted and still do. She lives in West Australia now with her family. And I bought a double compact disc of greatest hits of Hank Williams, and we were sharing the band, and Mandy was just over drinking and, doing what we did in those days, keep awake. And I was just listening to this Hank Williams record over and over again. And now when I listen to Hank, I don't go to my experiences in Oklahoma or Arkansas or Tennessee. It's a little hotel, a little apartment in New York where, Mandy and I were finishing up the dregs of a couple of bottles and listening to these Hank Williams records. And it happens all the time, listening to particularly records that I loved so much back then. The Lars first record, I go straight back to Castle Hill Records where I used to work. I got asked recently about do I listen to songs critically, and I had to answer honestly that the only time I listen to songs critically is when I think they're awful. If I react to them positively, I just let that take me over, and I don't want to research what musicologically it does, because that would somehow ruin the magic for me. And I think.
Perfect. I love that. Now, you're out on the road again. You're celebrating the album. And can you tell us what people can expect at this Hi-Fi Daily Double Down shows?
Well, we'll probably play the records. I think that's part of the contract. Yeah, we're in a little bit of, as usual, within the band. We share most opinions, but Davey and I want to pluck songs out of the air that we've done in the past just to mess with the formula. But other members of the group aren't so keen on that, possibly because they're more mature. So we want to play all the songs of those records, but also a bunch of songs that didn't make it to those records from the time, because there wasn't a lot of extra stuff for Hi-Fi, but a lot for Ali Daly. And so we want to play some of those tunes. And also instrumentally, we want to mess with it a little bit, not deprive anybody who likes those songs with the harmonies and the melodies that are there, but to just use different instrumentation only played by the 4 or 5 of us. We're not bringing in a lot of different musicians. We want to recreate it ourselves, with our friend James Fleming on keyboards. But Davey will play a lot of keyboards. Rusty's playing a lot of tuned percussion. Yeah, we're not big rehearsers, so we're meeting 2 days before the first show. Hopefully we'll be in the same room together. Yeah, we don't over-rehearse at all.
Fair enough. Just get out there and play.
Do we actually rehearse? For 35 years it's been, let's talk and laugh and hug each other and go to the pub, but we might actually rehearse the songs. We'd like to do just a powerful, energetic, good show, because we haven't played in quite a long while together, maybe almost months, which is probably the longest time we haven't played together that wasn't brought to us by a pandemic.
Yeah, right. Wow, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Now, let's talk about new music, because we had The Lives of Others in 2021. Has there ever been talk about new music from the band?
Yeah. I'm always writing for projects, and definitely You and I is the precedent. It's been my life since I was 18, I guess. And I guess we're very conscious of not doing anything that would muck around with our friendships at the moment. As we get into our autumnal years, our friendships become even more important to us. So if we, rather than say, let's go and make a record, I think we'd get in the same town and just bash things around for a couple of days and fill the fridge and knock ideas around. So that'll probably happen on this tour because we're good at writing in sound checks and yeah, that'll happen. What form it'll take, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's the best thing that we get together and make a record or not. No doubt we'll have those conversations in buses and trains and planes, and perhaps we will do what we've always done is take too little time to do too many songs.
We're
It's
here
worked
for
with
it.
yeah, it's our raison d'être, you know.
Love that. Now, looking back, it can be very easy to say what can change over time, though. What's the one thing, though, that's always remained the same about you and I?
Our lack of patience.
Hmm.
I think that one thing's constant is a semblance of our characters. Russ and I share some things. Davey and I share some things. Andy and I share some things that we don't with the whole group. I would think that as far as that patience thing goes, Russ and I are very impatient to move along, whereas Davey and Andy love getting in studios and really tinkering around. But then Russ is getting more involved in production, but he has a sort of mouse on a treadmill mind like I do. He's just has more information in there. There's a dynamic that's stayed pretty similar. We've been through trauma and grief and elation and exhaustion and energy and all the things that make the best friendships. And pretty soon on, we realise where we kind of fit. And we don't always stick there, but we know what our strengths are as four friends and how to look after each other and also how to really hurt each other. And we do less of that now. But there was always, particularly when Russ joined the band and then when Davey did, we knew we can hurt each other really badly because we know a lot of very intimate things about each other. So let's just avoid that. We've forgotten it, when we're on the Raz or, up for a bunch of days and you get a bit loose-lipped. But that I guess that's just the caring for each other. The band, fine, whatever, but we'd never make a decision that would challenge our friendship. And that's been the one consistent, constant.
Excellent. Now, you've seen a lot throughout the years within the Australian music scene and the music industry. What are your thoughts on where it is now compared to how things were back in the 90s?
Well, the machinations are different, getting your music out. But the big difference is that you see less of your friends and acquaintances and other bands in gas stops. It always stations at 3 a.m. and on the Sturt Highway or on the Nullarbor. And now it's sort of airports, which is a bit of a drag. We're lucky to be able to do it. But I've never really had much to do with the buying, the selling of records and things. I pretty much just write my portion of the songs. I just ran into, where I live out in country Victoria, I ran into a gentleman who's done front of house for 40 years, I think. And I ran into him in a supermarket and we just greeted each other the same way we have for 30, 40 years and all big hugs, come on, let's, what are you doing out here? Let's go and get a drink or get a cup of tea. They're the constants. When you meet people that you've known for a long while, it's just lovely and sweet, and you've got a shorthand with each other. I just hope that for people who are starting out, whether it's in groups or performing by themselves, that they just look up from their laptops and phones and just meet other people doing the same thing. There's not to necessarily learn, but just to share stories. We've got everyone's got a lot of reasons to feel different from other people, and any chance that we've got to feel similar to other people and share experiences is really valuable. I think particularly now. Maybe we took it for granted back in the 1790s, but now definitely don't take it for granted, and running into old friends or new performers that you see that you really love. And, hang out. We're making music together. We're making art. Let's share our experiences. And I know as a kid I used to watch, there's that person from that group, and speaking to them, oh my God, my head would explode. And it still happens, even if there's performers who are a lot younger than I am, and sitting hanging out and sharing stories at airport lounges mostly these days, and at venues. And I just think, what a wonderful thing, we've got little thing in common. So let's make our friendships and enemies, and just recognize that we've got something in common, so let's really value that.
Excellent. Now, aside from UMI, you've released solo albums, you've worked on movie soundtracks. Is there anything you haven't done yet that you still want to
do? It's always just about the next song, really. I am shooting a TV show in a couple of weeks, and I heard it in reading the contract for it. I saw that there was some songs being used, and my first thought was, oh, God, please get me in on that. Not for the publishing, but just like, an excuse to write a song. Because I write songs most of the time, but just for my own amusement, or for my wife's amusement or my daughter's amusement. Just the next song. As far as, it'd be wonderful to have a bunch of songs that somehow more people get to hear than you think. That'd be wonderful, but the chances of that happening aren't great. So I look forward to that next wonderful feeling of writing getting involved in writing a song that you love and handing it to your bandmates, and that's when I'm my most peaceful. So I'm just looking for peace and love, man.
Excellent. Aren't we all? Now, lastly, let's look ahead to the future with a prediction. So I want you to finish this sentence for me. By the end of 2025, UMI will...
Still be throwing the best parties in town.
Nice. I was waiting for not kill each other.
No, we've been very close to killing each other. It's no, I'd love to think that we're making a new record, but if not that we're having a cookout at my place, and I think at the end of the year we'll have an outrageous party with ourselves and our families and our loved ones, and there'll always be good records around, and a lot of laughing. Despite my po-facedness, there's always giggles to be had.
Excellent.
And never at anyone's expense. It's always very silly. I mean, the silliness of rock and roll must be retained. It's absurd.
I'm with you. So, what an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, Tim. Really appreciate it.
All the best, man. Love to see you.